Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, John.
How are you?
I am well, thank you.
It's
Thank
nice
God.
to finally be out in person at one of these conventions. It's been a little while.
It is.
Yeah. So I want to appreciate you coming out and being my first guest for Gemini Live today. I did want to talk to you a little bit about your upcoming speaker session today, and it is. Tell me a little bit about it, if you could.
Well, the title of the panel is How Many Pages, and it relates to the number of pages of records and how records are sent to the AMEs and QMEs, and how what those doctors need to do with those, and what do the parties need to do with those under the new medical legal fee schedule, which, as you know, has sort of changed the groundwork for how doctors review records.
Yeah.
And how they bill for reviewing records.
And there seems to be a lot of confusion around it.
There does.
Yeah. So what are the attorneys that are joining that session going to learn?
Well, first we're going to do some basic nuts and bolts and go over, the structure of the new medical legal fee schedule very briefly, because we want to focus on record review. We're going to talk about the definition of records and how it's a very broad definition. We're going to talk about how the attorneys and parties need to send records and the different people that can send them and who can sign that declaration. And we're going to talk about treating doctors and can they get paid to review records, and if so, how. And we're going to talk about what the doctor needs to do once they review those records. What declaration do they need to have in their report or attach to their report, and that kind of thing.
So it's going to be pretty important for the law firms to know what records they need to send and what they need to do on the front end, which is a big change for law firms, right?
Well, it's certainly a big change for applicant firms. Yes. Generally in the past, we've just sent all the records and let the doctor kind of sort it out. But now the way things are working and the huge expense that is being created, one of the pieces of information that if you attend the panel you'll hear is that there's one company out there that's been keeping very detailed records on this. It's a company known as Daisy Bill. You've probably heard of.
We work with them.
And I have a few slides that they've provided, and one of those slides shows that just from April 1st, when these regs became effective, until January 13th, when she sent me the slide, Daisy Bill alone has billed over $54 million just for record review.
Wow.
So the problem, whenever that occurs, when we start looking at numbers like that, we start looking at people on the other side, mostly insurance companies and self-insureds primarily, they're going to say, well, we need to reform the system. And whenever they reform the system, and I always refer to that as deform the system,
right,
it always hurts injured workers. They always use that as just an excuse to try to pull some other benefit away from injured workers. And we know that there's all kinds of wish lists that they have. And so this is something that can provide them with an excuse. So we need to be more cognizant of that, and we need to be more careful with how we send records and what records we send to the doctors.
That makes a lot of sense. And now, are the defense attorneys able to see how many pages got sent over to the doctors and object to that as of yet, or is that not part of it?
You're talking about if the applicant's attorney sends records to the doctor, before we do that, we have to send that information to the defendants and make sure that they've been served with the records that we're going to send to the doctor. So yeah, they have the opportunity to do that, and they have the opportunity to object, just like we have the opportunity to object to whatever records they're sending to the doctor. And then it will be incumbent upon a workers' compensation judge to arbitrate that issue.
Do you think that's going to start happening more once it comes out how much money is being spent on these
It's been happening. There are. You'll hear from Judge Atcherley from San Diego today. She's on the panel, and she's already had people come to her with disputes about what records should be going to the doctor. Either an objection from the defense or an objection from the applicant's attorney, usually the defense, because maybe an applicant's attorney wasn't thoughtful about what he or she sent, and they may have just basically, thrown all the records that they have in a box and they want to send them over. Yep. In that box, there could be blank pages, there could be duplicate pages, there could be stuff that's just completely irrelevant. One of the slides that you'll see is from one of my clients' hospital records, where I think it was 19 or 20 different times they had a form in there about the hazards of COVID-19.
Oh no!
And it's a back injury case. It's not, this is not a lung case. That stuff doesn't need to be in there.
Right. So
it's things like that just sort of run up the bills, and they do so unnecessarily.
Right, and it never had to be a concern up until now, up until this change. So
right.
It's going to be for the firms that are conscientious, this is going to be a big change. For the rest of the firms, I would be concerned that they're still going to continue to do things the way they've been doing them.
That's one of the issues that we face all the time, is that the firms that aren't conscientious about that sort of thing, and those costs become a reason for deforming the system.
Yes. No, I hear you. All right, let me change gears a little bit. I know that with this start-stop of what's happening with the pandemic, how has that affected the work from home from your firm? Has your firm been work from home the whole time, or is it in the home and in the office, or how are you guys doing it?
So originally, up until the end of 2020, we were working in the office. We had very strict standards about wearing masks and staying distant and washing hands. And I mean, I was the mask police. I would see somebody in the office walk, just absentmindedly walking down the hall with no mask on, and I'd shoo them back to their desk to go get their mask. And we told people, if you have any symptoms, stay home. If you think you've been exposed, stay home. Go get tested, track it down. We will pay you. We instituted a 30-day salary continuation program, where if you even thought you might be exposed to COVID, you could let us know, stay home, leave, whatever, and you would not lose pay. I didn't want people coming to the office because they couldn't afford the time off.
Right.
And it didn't have anything to do with their sick time, vacation time that they had accrued. This was totally separate.
Right.
COVID got us anyway.
Right.
It came into our office. I won't discuss how, but it was pretty horrible, as I think you already know.
Yes.
And so after that, we went to completely remote for a while. And then my partner and I, who I think you know, Darla Cunningham, decided that we needed at least have a few people in the office. I mean, we'd had to have somebody opening the mail and scanning the mail and doing that sort of thing. So we went to sort of a partial, everybody else was completely remote. We bought everybody laptop computers and got everybody cell phones, and we just ran the business primarily remotely. Now it's kind of a hybrid remote. We've moved into smaller quarters. We've gone almost entirely paperless now. And, necessity is the mother of invention.
Always.
So by going paperless, we can keep most people remote. We've got a few secretaries that come in maybe one day a week, and we have, so basically we're sort of like a hybrid remote situation.
Now, do you think it will remain that way, or do you think that over time it'll go back to where it was with people working in the office? How do you think that's going to change over time?
Well, I guess somebody doesn't want to take their history test.
There you go.
We moved our quarters to smaller quarters. We don't have room in our current office for everybody to be there. So if we were to change from hybrid remote to fully back in the office, we'd have to expand our workspace, which I don't know that we're really willing to do. So at this point, we're likely to be just completely remote or hybrid remote for now. And I think we're supposed to get out.
Yeah, I think this is a sign that our interview is coming to an end. I appreciate you taking the time to stop by. I hope you have a great session. I look forward to hearing it.
Thank you very much, John. It was my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.